Welcome back, developers, and in this tutorial we're going to cover arrays. With that out of the way, let's jump right into it. So we are going to create a new C file and we're going to call it array lesson 1. So let me just say lesson1.c like this. After that, we want to import our header files, so we have hash include. Let's have standard input output.h like this. So what are arrays? An array is a linear data structure which is used to store elements or data of the same type in continuous memory location, or we can say in contiguous memory locations. So I hope, or in consecutive memory locations. So how do we declare an array in C? So let's check that out. So if you want to declare an array in C, there are two things you need: the type of that array. Let's say it's an array of data type integer, then the name of the array like this, then these are square brackets, then inside you have the size of the array. Let's say our size of the array is 100. So it means we can store in this array, we can store 101 integers. Remember that an array is zero-based index. What are we saying? We are saying it stores values starting with a 0 from 0 index. So it means in this example we can store 101 elements. So by doing this, we are telling the memory manager that allocate memory address that can store 101 integers. So we can terminate like this here. How do we initialize elements in C? So let's just write our main program, our main function. Int main like this, and here we are going to have that line. We have declared our function that can store 101 elements. So let's say we want to initialize. So there are three ways to initialize array elements in C. The first one is you can initialize it first like this. So I can come here and say equals to, then I start to initialize like this, like this. So here I would have initialized elements in an array. And then we can also do another way where we can come here. Let me terminate this line, where we can say initialize like this. Name of the array, we call name of the array max, then we say max index 0. So remember, start with the 0, max index 0. We want to store an integer 9 like this. We can also max index 1. We want to store an integer or 8 like this until we reach index 101. Of course, we are not going to do that to save our time. Index 3, we can decide to store 8 like this. We can store 8 again, it allows you. So arrays are very important, since imagine a scenario where you need to store max of 1000 students. So if you don't know arrays, you are going to declare 1000 integer variables to store those max, which will be not efficient. It will work, but it's not efficient. It's not the best way to do it. After that, we want to look at how we can traverse an array. We want to write a simple program. So with that, let us look at an example and do this practically so that you get it. So write a C program to declare. Before we do this, let us look at another way we can we can put arrays into we can use a for loop. We can allow the user to enter array elements into the array using a for loop. So we will cover that when we're doing this. Write a C program to declare, initialize, input elements in array and print the array. So we want to write a program to declare, initialize, input elements in an array and print array. So this is like a traversing. We want to declare an array, so let's do that. Let's declare our array. I hope I've done that already. So let me just say int hash define. We want hash define. We want to define a constant of size. Hash define size. Let's just our size is going to be an array of 10. Then inside here we just put size. This is the size of your array. And then let's declare another variable. This one will be our index counter I, like this, since we are going to use a for loop. And then what else do we want? Let's say number. Int num, like this. After that, we want to print if we want to tell the user to enter values into our array. So I say enter number of array elements, like this. So we put it on a new line, then we terminate this line. After we've terminated this line, we want to scan if. Then remember, we have to put our specifier. Percent is an integer. Then we want to say int and num, like this. Then after that, we want to now allow the user to enter the array elements, print f. So we are going to print f again, enter elements into the array. So we want to allow the user to enter the elements into the array, like this. So then now we are going to use the for loop to take our elements into the array, like this. So let's say for. So our for loop is going to run from what I will be equals to 0. Then I is less than or equals to num. Then we are going to have num. It's not num plus. We are going to have I plus plus. We are going to increment our for loop. Then inside these we are going to say scanf. So this is a basic program to traverse an array. So we are going to say scanf percent. It's an integer. It's an array of data type integer. Then we say int. Remember, to access array values, we need to use this index I always. So if we do this, we are going to we can also say we can also come here and say use a printf here. We can say printf again here, printf. Then we can say let's see if marks, we can say mark, we can say percent, you can say marks like this, then square bracket, then %d, then new line like this, you can say value at like this, so that we access every index. Like so, let's terminate this line again. So remember, the program we are writing, we want to be able to declare. We have declared, then initialize. We've talked about initialize. Now we are inputting those elements into the array. So I hope you are following. So after inputting our elements into the array, we want to print them. So how are we going to print these elements? Let's have another for loop for traversing. For traversing, we're saying we want to visit every element of the array exactly once. So let's say traversing our array. We are going to use the for loop again. For we are going to have I equals to 0 again. Or let's have I is less than or equals to num, like this. Then we have I plus plus. Oh, I just made a mistake. I plus plus an increment. We increment our for loop. Inside our for loop, this is what we are going to do. We are going to print. We are going to print our array. So we're going to just say value at let's just say %d, like this. Then we include our array like this. Let me make sure I put that value at %d, then I put a comma here. I want to include the index. We also want to print the index. So let me terminate this line. So this one will allow us to visit the array, every element of the array exactly once. So let's try to run this program and check what we are going to have. So let's wait for it to compile. While it is trying to compile, let me just see. So enter elements of array. Let me just enter size. So this way, enter the elements into the array. Value at 0. So value is 0. We want 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like this. So we want all these. So value at 3, value at 3, value at 5, value at okay. So value at %d, then it's giving us our array elements. So I hope you are following what is trying to happen, because we want to print all the values here. So let me just say try to print a new line. What if I just do like this and run it again? Let me just try to close the and run it again. While this is trying to compile, let's go to our next program. Let us write the C program to calculate the average marks of a particular student. So here we just say entering the marks and then printing all the marks. So I hope you have been following. So now if we want to print the average, we are just going to declare another variable. Let's call it average, like this. Maybe we initialize it with 0, like this. Then we know how to calculate the average. So it means we need another for loop where we are going to find the sum. So inside this for loop, instead of printing like this, we want to say we need to find the sum. So let's declare another variable. Let's call it sum is equals to 0, like this. After finding the sum, inside here we are going to say sum plus equals to max I. So on every iteration it will be adding the value of max I to sum. After that, you know, our average is going to be is going to be sum by 10, like this. And then we are going to say printf the average is %d. Then let's save our avg, like this. So this program, if we compile it, it is going to find the average for us. You see our loop is not terminating. It was now an infinite loop. Let's check what is happening. What is happening? Why are we having an infinite loop? For I is equals to 0, I is less than or equals to num I plus plus. Then printf enter number of array elements. The number of array elements, we enter it. Then printf enter elements into the array. So let's recompile this program and see, because it must prompt us to enter the number of the elements into the array before it executes. So let's just say 5 to save our time. Let's just say maybe 4. Valid 0, 2, valid max 1, 6, 7, 8. Then the average is 2. This is not true. This is not true. This is not true. How can we? Okay, the average is okay. Average is okay. Let's just say average. In order to get the true average, we just need to divide by num here. Let's divide by num so that we can be exact. Let me say 3. Remember, if the average is 4, so this time it's working perfectly. So let us explain what is happening here so you get it, what we are trying to do. So we have declared these variables with variable max of size of which size is a constant. We made it a constant of 10. So int I, this is our loop counter. Int num, variable num of data type integer, variable avg of data type integer, and they've initialized with it with 0. Then we've also sum. So here we are prompting the user to enter elements into the array, into this array we have declared. Then we are using the for loop to enter those elements into the array. Then we are using another for loop for finding the sum of the elements of the array. Then we are having this formula avg to find the average. Then we are printing our average. Now let's go to the next question and see. Write a program to insert an element into an array. So there are a lot of operations that we can perform on arrays, like insertion, searching, deleting. So we are only going to cover insertion right here. So let us create a new new file. Let's just call it lesson1, maybe lesson2.c, like this, so that we begin. So let's save our hash. Let's save our hash. Hash includes standard output import.h, like this. So after doing this, we want to declare quite a number of our variable. Let's just first write our main function like this. Let's save our main function. After having our main function, let's just declare an array of name marks of integer, data type integer, and then let's just give it 100, like this. And also let's have the position where we want. So when we want to insert our elements into an array, you need to know the position at which you want to insert. You can either insert elements at the beginning, at any position, or at the end. It's up to you what you want to do, right? So I hope we are still together. So int position, let's write int position like this. Also we want n, the number of our elements they use. Let's just say num. Always write meaningful variables. And then we want also the value, int value. Remember, we cannot store a character into an integer array. So let's say int value, the value which the user wants to insert. So let's have our I again, int I, our loop counter. So I think with these variables we can get started. So what we want to do now is we want to print to allow the user to enter the number of arrays. So we can have a printf. Enter the number of array. You can enter the number of array elements. Like this. So I hope you are following. In array. Then we can terminate that line like this. After we can scan if that, then we are going to have percent. This is our specifier, so it's an integer, so it's %d. Then we have our int num like this. After the user have entered the number of elements they want to enter, we want to now we want them to enter the array elements. So we are going to say enter array elements like this. Then we put it on a new line. Then we just include this num. Then we terminate. So we are going to use for a for loop. So remember, our for loop is going to run from I is equals to 0. Then we have our I is less than we want it to be less than num. Then we have we increment our loop, our for loop, and then inside here we are going to scan values into our array. So scan f, then we include our specifier like this. Then this time we are saying end. Remember, with arrays the name of the array is max, and then we also need to include the index I, and then we terminate here. So I hope you are following. So this line will allow us to scan values into our array. Very easy. Now we want to tell the user to enter printf, to enter the position which they want to insert the value. Enter. Maybe the user want to insert the value at the beginning, the end, the position you wanna insert. So remember, you can use array with any type of data type. I get this in your mind, not only integers, you can use double, you can use float, you can use char, where you are, especially when you are dealing with the strings. Strings, usually you deal with them with using arrays. So arrays allow you to deal with the strings in C. So I need you to get some of, enter the position you wanna insert the value. So these are some of the things that you will tell the user so that you can communicate well. Now we are going to scan our position, and then we have the position. We have that variable position, everything okay, cool. After that, what's next? What do we want to do? We want now to check. There's a condition that we check, because sometimes the position of the user might be out of range. So how do we protect ourselves from that? We're going to say if the position the user entered is greater than, so we want to have is greater than n, which is num plus 1, like this, or it's less than, position is less than 1, or position, so we're using a logical or operator, or position is less than 1. What do we want to do? So inside this if statement we want to print f invalid position. So this will be an invalid position. We want to print f, sorry, you have entered an invalid invalid position. You've entered an invalid position, like this. So the user would have entered an invalid position. Then we else now we are going to do some basic logic here. Else, what do we want to do? Else we want to say enter the value to insert. So else we are going to have in this else we are going to have printf. We are going to have enter the value to insert. But you don't just insert from nowhere. There are things that we need to do. We need to run a for loop, and this for loop is going to shift and swap elements. So if the user wants to insert elements at index 0, which means the first index, then we are going to shift elements. We're going to shift the second, the first elements into the second index, then shifting going to the right. So let's have that for loop. So let's run our for loop from I index. Let's say we're going to run index n minus 1, which means the num. We have used num, so we are going to say I equals, then let's have I must be greater than or equals to, I must be greater than or equals to position minus 1. So this is the most important part you need to get. Then we need to decrement. This time we are not incrementing, but we are decrementing, because we are moving from the opposite side. Then after that, inside our for loop, this is what we are doing. We are shifting elements. So it's I plus 1. So whatever in I index I, we are shifting it with plus 1. So it means we are shifting going to the right, of which we are, the name here is not array, but we have called it max. Sorry for that error. So it's max. So this is for shifting. So this line allows us to shift. So let me just comment and say shifting shifting elements. So we are going to shift our elements. After that, we are going to swap. So we are going to say max position minus 1. Let's say position minus 1 with the val. So this line now allows us to insert. Let's terminate this line. So we are saying whatever is our value, we are installing it on what? On index max position minus 1. So this is very important. And whatever is on max I, whatever the index will be, whether it's index 1, it's index 2. So remember, it's starting from index I equals to num minus 1. So I hope you are getting that one. I hope you are following. This is a bit trick, but you can get your head around it. So now we want to print elements, the resultant array. So let's just come out of that for loop. We just want to say print the resultant array. After we have inserted some elements, then we want to print the resultant. This time is our max. Then we use again a for loop. Let's use a for loop to print. So with the array, we are always using for loops most of the time. So it's I from 0, then I is less than what? So I have now I is less than num. Then we have our I plus plus. Then the body of our for loop. Then we are going to say print f. So what can we do? The value then let's say %d like this is equals to %d like this. Then after that, let's have our I. We are going to have our I, then our max I like this. So these are basically how you insert your elements into an array. So I need you to enter the number of array elements. Let me just make it 4 so that we save our time. 1, 2, 3, 5. Enter the position you want to say. So on 1, which is 2. Then enter the value to insert the resultant. Enter the position you want to insert 1. So why it's not allowing us? So it's enter the value to insert. Enter the position you want to insert. If position is greater than num plus 1. If position is greater than num plus 1, so then it won't run this rest. So let us redo this one. Let me just say 3, 1, 2. Enter element position you want to insert. So let's just say 1. Enter value to insert. Enter value to insert is this. This code is not running well. Let me just try to debug it and see where we are having the error. Because we're saying else for loop, our for loop is starting from I equals to num minus 1. Exactly. So I have in I is greater than or equals to position, then I minus minus, This is okay. Then we shift our max I plus 1 equals to max I, then max position minus 1 equals to value. Then this is where we are inserting the value panel. Do we have anything called value, like value here? Exactly. We are enter the position. Yes. So I get it. So we are not prompting the user enter the value to insert. This is very important. Enter the value to insert here. Enter the value to insert. So we need to scan F again, that value. Scan F %d, then and value like this. So let's run again this code. This time it should work perfectly. Let's just have 3, which means we are going to have 4 elements. Another one, 2, 3. Enter the position you want to insert. We want to insert on position 2. Enter the value to insert. Oh, so this was the missing step. This is the value at 0 equals to 1, the value at 1 equals to 10. So this is how you do it, guys. This is how you do it. It's very easy, simple. So let's run out this code again, then I explain. So this is how you debug your code. Don't run away from your code, always debug it. So enter the value to insert. So here, where are we entering our array elements? Then here we are entering our array elements. Let me also say print f like this, then %, let me say %d, %d, let me say value, enter the value, at %d. Then here I come and give my index like this. We just want to have some clean code. I like our clean code very much. I'm one of the fan of our clean code. So enter the number of arrays. Let's just, we have 4 elements. Enter value at 0. At 0 we are going to have 1. Enter value at 1 we are going to have 2. Enter value at index 2 we are going to have 3. Enter value at index 3 we are going to have 4. Enter the position we want to insert. So let's say we want to insert at position 1, of which 1 currently has 2. So let's say enter the value you want to insert. Let's say we want to insert 8. So you see at the value at 0 we are having 8. So guys, this is our program, and it's working. Thank you for watching. Until next time, peace.